Buongiorno and welcome to Tortellino Time. If you've got a little time available and like me you enjoy cooking and getting creative in the kitchen, you might want to try my bean soup in an edible frittata bowl. Yes, you did hear me right. It is a bowl which you can eat and it will be made by a frittata made of potatoes. And I made the start with the potatoes. I'm slicing them in 1 centimeter pieces like this. And I've been cutting them lengthwise and making 1 centimeter cubes, pretty much like this. Anything up to a centimeter, that's perfect. This is rosemary. I'll chop it very briefly with my knife and I'll mix it with the potatoes. Frying pan with some olive oil. And whilst everything is still cold, I will add my potatoes in it. I will salt them later, but I will add some pepper now. I'll place the lid on and I'll give them a quick mix. They're beginning to sizzle. I'll place the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down on medium. And altogether they'll cook anything between 15 to 20 minutes. But every so often I'll go in and I'll give them a little mix to ensure that they are gold and crispy all over. They've been cooking for a good 10 minutes and I've already given them a mix after 5 and they're beginning to look lovely and gold on top. But I'll carry on mixing them and you can be as rough as you like with these because I will be making a frittata anyway. Actually, the more you mix them, the more you smash them, the better. My frittata mix need to be quite steady, so I'll start with 4 eggs, a little salt and some pepper, and I'll mix them together. My potatoes are cooked and they've also cooled down slightly, so I can add them safely now. Followed by some mature cheddar to help with the flavor, but also to bond the ingredients together. And I'll mix it together, and although this is perfectly okay for a normal flat potato frittata, it will not be holding the shape of a ball, so I need to make it a little bit denser. And I'll start by adding some breadcrumbs, 3 dessert spoons, and see how it goes. It thickens up immediately and it's looking a lot better, and if I actually was to just replicate what I'm going to be doing later, it's not too bad. It actually would stay, but I think I'll add 1 more, like so. Much better, harder for me to mix and firmer, and if I was to just spread it across the side of my bowl and put it like that, it'll stay in place. So I think it's good enough. This is the bowl I'll be using to mold my frittata. I've got some baking paper here and a pencil. I'll turn this upside down and I'll draw a circle around the bowl and I'll cut it out using some scissors. And I'll be cutting some of the paper to accommodate the sides of the bowl. And using some kitchen paper, I am now applying some butter both at the base of my bowl and also the sides, covering everything. In this particular case, the butter will work a bit like glue and will keep the paper stuck to the bottom. And as I made the paper slightly bigger, I can go around with my finger and making sure that it's properly stuck at the bottom here. And I'll do exactly the same with the sides. And here's the second piece, and the butter is doing the job really well. Having lined up the bowl, I'll put a little olive oil and I'll spread it across the bottom and the sides. And I'm putting olive oil for 2 reasons. Number 1, because I want to make sure that the paper does peel off very easily, but also it will help the frittata cook better. And I'll move my mix inside it and I'll start with the base. As this will be holding my bean soup later, I want to make sure that the base is slightly thicker than the sides, so I'm making it roughly 1.5 centimeter thick. And although it is easier to spread with a spoon, I find that by pressing it with my fingers, I make sure that it's properly compacted. And I can move and do the sides next. And I'm using my hands to do the sides, as it is considerably easier to model it, but also I've got a little water to ensure that I don't get sticky fingers and I can work it considerably easier. If you've done any pottery in the past, you might find that this is considerably easier for you. And that, I think, is as good as it's going to be for me today. And using a clean damp cloth, I'll just go around the trim to ensure that it's lovely and clean and it is ready to go in the oven. Potatoes are cooked. It is a matter of bonding the egg with the rest of the ingredients and the cheese. So oven is on at 200 degrees. I'll pop it in for 15 minutes and it should be enough. But if it requires longer or less, I will let you know, of course. And while the frittata cooks, I'll get the beans ready, and I'll start with a beautiful big bay leaf which I only just picked from the garden. My beans have soaked overnight and I've got 3 different types. These are black beans, red kidney beans and white cannellini beans. Yes, three different types, but the cooking time is all very similar for all of them, and alongside the fact that they will give me slightly different type of flavor, they will also look beautiful because of the different colors. I just spread them across, and I will top them up with cold water, and I'll leave 1 centimeter above the beans. Always use cold water when you're cooking beans from scratch. Otherwise they will split, and also do not add any salt, otherwise they'll get really hard. Of course you can also use tinned beans. These were 100 grams per type, so 300 grams when they were dry, and they are now 600 grams. So if you're using tinned beans, you can use any variety, you don't have to use a mixture either, you can then regulate accordingly. The beans are beginning to boil, so I'll place the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down and I'll leave them to simmer. Have a look at your packaging, but if like me you're cooking your beans from scratch, generally 1 hour from when they begin to boil should be plenty, or until they're lovely and tender. My frittata has been out of the oven for about 5 minutes, so I slightly cooled down. So the first thing I want to do is to move it onto this tray, which I've lined up with some paper again, and by lifting it, it should just come out very easily. I didn't even have to worry about the paper at the bottom. And let's remove the sides very gently. A little olive oil, and using a brush I'm spreading it across the entire surface like this. I'm looking for a beautiful golden and crusty finish, so I'll pop it back in the oven for another 5 or 7 minutes and that should be plenty. And there it is, out of the oven once again, exactly as planned. Beautiful golden and crispy on the top, or maybe the bottom eventually. Anyhow, I will now go in the garden. It's a beautiful day, and I'm going to be helping Julie with some gardening. In the meantime, the beans will continue cooking. I'll turn them off after the hour, and I'll see you later this evening when I'll be finishing the dish. But it will not make any difference to you, because with the magic of editing, of course, it will be seamless. See you in a little while. Bye. And I'm back and I'm ready to finish the bean soup, and of course I'll start with the classic flavors from the soffritto, which is made of onion, carrots and celery. I'll do the onion first and I'll chop it into tiny little pieces. But the celery and the carrot, I'll cut them slightly bigger. A couple of cloves of garlic, which I'll gently crush. Next I'll be making a little bundle of my favorite herbs. These are bay leaves, and I will be complementing them with some rosemary and sage. I'll fold my rosemary in half like this. I'll trap my sage between the rosemary and the bay leaves like this. I'll get hold of some cooking wire and I'll start wrapping it around my little bundle. They're nice and tight, and I'll put a knot here at the end so that they will all stay together, and then they will be easy to fish out all at once. And everything is organized for my soffritto, so I'm ready to move to the stove next. Generous amount of olive oil in a saucepan, followed by the garlic next and the chopped onion. And before I add anything else, I'll leave the onion and the garlic to sizzle together for a minute. Carrots and celery next, and I'll turn the temperature down and I'll leave them to simmer for 10 minutes. Here are my beans, which I'm keeping warm on the hob. But first thing first, let's remove the bay leaf first, we don't need it anymore. And I'll go along and I'll fish out a couple of ladles of beans first, and a little bit of the broth. And using a mixer, I will blend them until I get lovely silky and smooth cream. These are done, and I'll put them on one side for later. Back to my soffritto, tomato puree next, approximately 1 heaped dessert spoon. And this is the perfect time to add my little bundle of herbs, followed by a tin of 400 grams of chopped tomatoes. My beans are still very hot, and I'll add them in, including the broth. And I'll top it up with a little bit more water. As soon as everything starts boiling, I'll place the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down and I'll leave them to simmer for 45 minutes. And 45 minutes are up and we are nearly there. First things first, I'll go ahead and remove my bundle of herbs. There. These are the beans which I whizzed earlier. They've cooled down, but that is not a problem. It's not a bad thing, as they will slightly cool down the dish anyhow.
Lovely colour.
And I'll mix it together so that the whole dish becomes creamier. Up until now I haven't put any salt, so I'm adding 1 teaspoon, a handful of parsley, followed by a drizzle of olive oil. I'll mix it one more time so that the oil and the parsley infuses with the rest of the beans, and I'll put the lid on and I'll leave it now for 1 minute. And I'm ready to dish out a portion in my potato frittata bowl. The smell is very, very promising, but I'll just drain the liquid and I just focus on the solids initially. Also, what I like about dishes like this is the creaminess. I love it, and it's absolutely perfect. And using a spoon this time, I'll just pour a little liquid enough to cover the beans slightly. And of course, you do not have to make a frittata bowl to have beans. You can still serve it in a normal soup bowl, which I'll do anyway. And that looks absolutely delicious. And to complement it, we will be having ours with some croutons, which are baked in the oven earlier. They are just rustic bread sliced up with some olive oil, salt and pepper, and some rosemary. And in the oven for about 10 minutes. And a little shake halfway, and they're absolutely delicious. And talking of which, I'll just dip a couple in my soup and I'll taste some, and then I will go because we're hungry. We've been in the garden this afternoon. The beans are delicious, and the frittata I tested a little bit earlier and it's absolutely wonderful as well. And it is cold now, so if you want to warm it up, well, means put it in the oven for 5 minutes, but cold or hot, it doesn't really matter. And if you make it or anything similar, please let me know. It'd be interesting to see some pictures maybe. Arrivederci, grazie, and buon appetito. Ciao.